Well, tonight we have Beatrice Mahuru with us. She's the CEO of the Digicel Foundation and a mother of 6 beautiful children. She's the first woman we'll be featuring in our Women in Leadership Roles series, and what better way to start? And she'll be talking to us about her journey to the top. Here she is, Beatrice Mahuru. Hello, Beatrice.
How are you?
Good, thank you. It's good to see you. Please do take a seat.
Thank you.
How's everything going?
Not bad.
Well, Beatrice, it's such a pleasure to have you here on Lilah with us. You know, the Chief Executive Officer to the Digicel Foundation. You know, it's not a hat that a lot of women wear, although there are a lot of aspiring women out there. Tell us something about yourself that we don't know already. Who is Beatrice Mahuru?
I think Beatrice Mahuru is an aspirational person. I still continue to have high goals, even though, you know, people might say you've already broken the glass ceiling. But, you know, one thing I know for certain that people don't know about me is I did spend some time being a housewife when I was in lay.
Wow, you did too. And how long was that? Was that before you took on the CEO role?
Exactly. So it was, I was in lay for 18 months. Oh. And then when I came back and applied to a job here, I think that time actually was really, really good. I came back in hungry. And you know, the Digicel way is, I liken it to almost like whitewater rafting. You know, you got to keep up with the rapids because it's such a fast-paced corporate culture. And you got to keep your wits about you every single time. Otherwise, the rapids throw you out onto the side. And yeah, it's been a fantastic journey.
It certainly has. And growing up, what did you see yourself becoming? You know, what kind of childhood did you have?
I had such a wonderful childhood. I have so many wonderful memories. I mean, as the only daughter to my parents and the oldest child as well, I've got 2 younger brothers, but I was an only daughter. And you know, when you grow up as a little girl, you don't really know what you want to become. I mean, I know like most other little girls, I probably wanted to be a princess or whatever. But I know that even before I knew my own ability, my father had so much faith in me. And I'll tell you a story about this one time. I remember my father's property is on a fishing village just outside Port Moresby called Vabukori. And I was there one day and my uncles were teasing me because I've got such a high forehead. And one of my uncles said, Beatrice, when this beacon stops working, we will stand you here so you can guide the ships into the Port Moresby harbour. And everybody laughed, Sophie. But the great thing was, you know, my father would always get down on his knees and look me in the eyes and say, you know what, they can laugh all they want today, but tomorrow you will be a light. So my dad knew my potential even before I was aware of it.
Yeah, you know, Beatrice, I've been to a Men of Honor award. I've been there, and I've also had the privilege of hearing you speak in certain, you know, public outreach, and I've also heard you attribute a lot of your success to your dad. And then, you know, you have the Men of Honor concept, which is a baby of the Digicel Foundation, you know, and it's such a great way. You know, you don't have a lot of women standing up and speaking about, you know, how a great male role model has really molded them to become what they are today.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There are so many amazing men out there, and I mean, I credit my father to me being who I am. But I must admit, I think my drive is more my mother. My father's brought out this warm, gentle, caring person in me, and I see that. My mother's the driven one, you know, because in any relationship there's always a bad cop and a good cop, and my mum was sadly always a bad cop because she was the disciplinarian, whereas my father was always loving. You know, I could never do anything wrong with my dad, so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's great having you on the show to share with us. Was there really something about the CEO position? You know, was there an expectation, you know, you had going into taking this role?
I must admit, you know, I was somewhat nervous at first when I got approached by John Mangos, who said, Beatrice, we're gonna. When I entered, I localized the position. It was Megan. Now, Daddy Tucker's wife, who was the senior program manager. So I localized her position, and then within 12 months localized the CEO's role. And you know, I was nervous, I must admit. I mean, I am human.
Yeah.
And but I had every support from Digicel in place with the training that was required, and the mentoring I got from John Mangos has probably been the thing that's really set me up. That being said, I mean, John wasn't the first of men that have supported me. My career has been around amazing gentlemen that have just, I stand on their shoulders.
And so, what are your plans going forward for the foundation? Anything? Do you feel like there's something that's really there that you'd like to really achieve until you say, I've really done my part for the foundation?
Well, prior to joining the foundation, I actually thought I was doing enough, right? And then you join foundation, and it really puts a lot of things into perspective. That there is so much more that we who are privileged can do to make a difference in our country. So our focus has been in 5 core areas: basic education, basic health services, community building programs. And under that branches out into the Man of Honor campaign and special needs, of course. But what we've noticed over this period of time that I've been with the foundation 6 years is realizing that we've done so much in the early education space, which is fantastic. Yes. But a strategic move for us would be moving into the high school space, because the education structure in PNG is almost like a triangle. There's very few institutions at the top, lots, heavy elementary and primary schooling, and not enough support around the middle areas, which is where we need to grow our numbers, It's not enough to educate a child or consider that you're doing education when you only educate them up to year 6. That's just not enough. It's like asking for a year 12, a 12-year-old child to start making business decisions for themselves, because that's basically what's expected of them in our current, what has been a structure. So I'm wanting to change that through the foundation. This year, we'll be continuing to do stuff in the primary school space, but really having a focus from the next year onwards into high school and what we can do there.
Well, that's fantastic, Beatrice. You keep going back to the primary school and the early, childhood learning and that kind of thing. And then with you being CEO now, what was something that one of your parents, either your mom or your dad, said that really sticks to your heart today? Was this something they really drilled into your mind or into yourself as a young woman growing up?
Yeah, I think for me, through my mum, it will be standards. And one of the things that I've really held all the time is standards, whether it's my dress standards or my work ethics. Like, everything is all about standards, because a gentleman once said, and I think it was Brigadier General from Australia, who said, the standards you ignore, the standards you accept. And absolutely, and that's been the wonderful thing, that I think it was most my mother who set the bar for me with regards to, Beatrice, it's not enough to achieve today. Don't be satisfied with what you've got today. You need to continue to aspire, and that's why, although I've reached the CEO role, my aspiration is to beyond that as well.
Beatrice, it's fantastic having you on the show in Lilah. And when we come back, Beatrice will be talking about life as a single mum and finding love. Stay with us.
Now I understand why my mum put the standards that she did, because I'm finding myself to be that same drilling cop. What I want to encourage young girls is, you don't have to remain in a relationship. If it's not for you, it's not for you, right? I had 3 daughters prior to him. He brought in 2 daughters, and then we both have a daughter. So I've got a small netball team happening on the side.
It's a wonderful blend, don't you think? Wouldn't you say?
It's the South Pacific, Brad Pitt and Angelina. They've gone their separate ways. We won't be doing any such thing. I think we'll be growing gracefully all together.
That's next. And we are talking tonight with CEO of the Digicel Foundation, Beatrice Mahuru. Beatrice, now you were saying before we went to the break, how your mother always, if there was something she instilled in you, it was keeping that standard, from your mother to you becoming a mother. How was that like for you?
My goodness, it's been an amazing journey. I think I grew up because, as I said at the start, being an only girl, I was spoiled rotten. But having had children myself, it's kind of helped me to be a little bit more humble, a little bit more patient. And now I understand why my mum put the standards that she did, because I'm finding myself to be that same drilling cop that's doing it to my daughters as well. So,
and Beatrice, how has life been? You're a mother of 6 children. Mm-hmm. It must be tough trying to juggle that and your profession, your marriage, or your relationship for that matter.
Yeah, it's been amazing. My last, it was amazing. I was having that conversation with my mother, and she said to me, "B, what you've experienced in your life, I've not even done that." And she passed away in 2014, so I miss her dearly.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you for your condolence. I mean, for me, the fact that she was such a huge influence, even today, because she had grounded me so well, I'm able to transfer a lot of that to my daughters as well. So, you know, I married very young, straight out of university, first boyfriend, fell absolutely madly in love, had my 2 daughters, and then, you know, things didn't go right. But I mean, we're not here to air dirty laundry or anything, but what I want to encourage young girls is you don't have to remain in a relationship. If it's not for you, it's not for you, right? It was really hard coming back from Canada. And my mum was like, you get on that plane and you go make it work. And my dad, on the other hand, who was also passed since 2004, said to me, sweetheart, if it wasn't for you, stay. You know, so that's the kind of relationship that I had with both my parents. One was always the driving force, and the other one was because he knew how tough my mum was. Yeah. My mum had tough love. So my dad was the agape, always there, no matter what, sort of a relationship. And then when my daughters came into play, I obviously went through a couple of different relationships before I met my wonderful husband today. And I had 3 daughters prior to him. He brought in 2 daughters, and then we both have a daughter. So I've got a small little team happening on the side.
It's a wonderful blend, don't you think? Wouldn't you say?
It's the South Pacific, Brad Pitt and Angelina, although they've gone their separate ways. We won't be doing any such thing. I think we'll be growing gracefully all together. And the wonderful thing has been our daughters. You know, they're the motivation. They're our inspiration. They are the ones that want this world to be a better place, because, you know, that old American saying, which is where, you know, you don't inherit the earth from your parents, you actually borrow it from your children.
Oh, I see.
So, you know,
it's the first time I've heard of it. Yes.
It's an old American saying, and for me, that's how I see life, you know, because of what we've gone through. And as I said, I mean, being a mum has really brought my circle full fold. And the journey as a mum and trying to put that through with daughters, although it hasn't been an easy one, it's been a really trying one, because, you know, my first 2 daughters from my previous marriage are now in the States, but they're doing really, really well. My husband's daughters, one's in Scotland, the other one's in Brisbane. My 2 other daughters are in Brisbane, so at the moment we're empty nesting, but all the more reason to throw ourselves into work and family. And yeah. And
I notice you haven't said anything about sons. So you got daughters right across the board. And you see, I have a daughter myself, and I keep saying that, you know, girls are the ones that are more vulnerable to what's happening in society these days with all that's happening. And, you know, what are some of the challenges you face raising girls?
Well, I think we've given them a great platform on which to make decisions. You know, they're going to make mistakes. And that's fine, because I've gone through that and I've made my share of mistakes as well. But as long as you give them a great grounding on which they can fall back on, you know, if they fall off their horse, but also always paving the way forward for them so that they can become amazing young women, mothers, grandmothers in the future.
And we'll be right back. Coming up next.
And I met this little girl called Iope. Like, I absolutely fell in love with this little girl. I looked in her eyes and I could see hope. You know, we all go in there thinking we've got the solutions for them. You're going to take away this little girl from this place where they only speak a certain language. She's never seen, you know, lights and cars and movement and all of that. And you want to throw it in her face and tell her this is the right way. Partnership in our work is critical, because at the heart of everything we do at the foundation, from coordination to collaboration, is all with partners, because, you know, together is better.
Beatrice Mahuru is on the show tonight, and we have started on Life at the Foundation. I know you have a lot of stories to tell, Beatrice, but there was a little girl you found in a village somewhere in the jungles of Gulf Province. Would you like to tell us a little more about that?
Absolutely. Well, Paingopa, to be specific, in the highlands of the Gulf Province. It nestles back into Minyemia, around that area. And I met this little girl called Iope. Like, I absolutely fell in love with this little girl. On the journey there, you know, it was just about 5 hours on the road, rough Hiritano Highway, getting all the way through the Gulf. I'm thinking, surely there must be an easier way to get there, right? So I'm complaining all the way. I had this neck pillow, you know, for travel. Arrived in Kerema, and then we got airlifted from Kerema into Paingopa. Now, if we had walked, it would be a 6-day walk, but we were fortunate. Another partner came on board and said that they would airlift us in for our assessment. So when we arrived there, I met this little girl. She would have been not much older than my daughter at that time, so she would have been 8 years old. And I looked in her eyes and I could see hope, like this twinkle in her eye that I was attracted to. And then when she smiled, oh my goodness, I think she just yanked me by my heart. And I thought, I love this little girl. Like I want the best for her. But when I went into this place, Paingopa, where they all still wear grass skirts, they all still, rub sticks to make fire, and the nearest health center is several mountain tops away. And they've lost so many lives along the way because, basic health services aren't available to them. I thought to myself, you know what, I want to adopt this little girl. And on my way back, for my return, I thought, I don't need this pillow anymore, because in seeing their lifestyle and how hard they are, yet they're content with what they had, I thought, what was I complaining about, So I gave her my little neck pillow. And you should have seen her hold it. Like, I've actually got a photo that I'll share with you later, but she held it oh so gently, as if this thing was the softest thing she had ever felt in her whole life, because all she ever had was a bark cloth which I was explained to later, because they don't speak Tokpis in there either. We had a translator come in with us. They use this bark cloth for cover from the sun, to use as a blanket, to use as a mat. It's used for all sorts of things. Yeah, and a grass skirt, and that's all she had. So when I returned, I was telling my husband, I said, I think, sweetheart, if you don't mind, I'd like to adopt a little girl. And he said, are you crazy? We've already got 6 daughters. And I said, no, but I think one more won't make a difference, because we've already had 6. And he said, why? I said, because when I went there was no teenagers in the strict sense. They only had little children or mums. So what I learned later also was that as soon as they hit puberty, they were married off. So I thought to myself, if I adopt this little girl, at least at the age of 8, I will save her from all of that. She won't have to go through that life of being a mum at such a young age. Because I was thinking of my own daughter at that time, little Tyler. So I went back and I spoke to he said, speak to your mom, I get some wisdom from your mom. I wonder what she's going to say. Anyway, I went to tell my mom, doing the whole usual, trying to buy her in, so, a cup of tea, because, it mellows her down. And then I told her, and she said, what were you thinking? I said, no, Mom, I would make a massive difference in this little girl's life. And he said, yeah, but you're looking at it from your perspective. You're not looking at it from her perspective. This is how they've lived for thousands of years. And the problem is, we all go in there thinking we've got the solutions for them. But they've operated that way, and it's held their societies together. So I think about it. She said, you're going to take away this little girl from this place where they only speak a certain language. She's never seen, lights and cars and movement and all of that. And you want to throw it in her face and tell her this is the right way. Well, you got to see it from her perspective, because she's thinking, I don't know your language. What are you talking about? And she'll feel like you've stolen her from her family. So I went back. Good point. And I had a real hard think, and I thought, you know what, Mum's right. And she said, but what you can do differently is probably go back and visit her, whenever you can. So it's on my to-do list. I still want to go back and find her. And I hope that when I find her, that she's not a little mummy, because by this time she'll be 12 years old.
That's a great heartfelt story, which is your work has also exposed you to this kind of very human kind of things. And is there something that you hope you have stakeholders as well? You mentioned that you had a client assist you to get to what would have been a 6-day walk. This kind of thing. What kind of partnerships do you want to see going forward to make a difference for little girls like IOP?
Yeah, partnership in our work is critical, because at the heart of everything we do at the foundation, from coordination to collaboration, it's all with partners, because together is better. Hashtag together better, because you can do so much more together. And I feel our partners can connect us in ways that we've not been able to. It helps us grow our funding base, we bring shared values and practices into a whole new organization as well, or we learn from them as well. So, I mean, for me, partnership is critical. I think if Papua New Guineans are keen to make a difference in PNG, or even, expatriates that are living here, reach out, volunteer, make time available, make a difference in the time that you are on earth, because as I said, we are inheriting this we're borrowing this earth from our children.
Beatrice, it's just been tremendous talking to you on Lilah. What is your word of advice to the young women out there, inspiring women professionally, in their relationships, in anything that they're choosing to do? What's your word of advice?
Don't give up on your dreams. Stay curious, and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Because if you believe you can make it, the world's your oyster. You can break through those glass ceilings. And I think it's not just a call to young girls to believe in their dreams, but I think it's also equally important for me to ask parents and dads in particular. The roles that you play in your child's life is so important. You believe in them, you make them your friend, and the world looks amazingly more beautiful.
Certainly does. Beatrice, we could go on forever,
I know.
hear your story and be inspired even more. But we want to thank you for being on Lilah, and wish you all the very best with the work in the foundation going forward.
Thank you for your support. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
So Beatrice, what a wonderful story, and thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time, and it's goodbye from Lilah. Next time on Lilah.
You're a lady, what do you know about rugby league? And they started they give us these looks that you don't know what you say. It's always preached what I coach the boys. I can coach better than some of the boys. And ever since I coached the under-20 boys, we always made it into the finals.
You have to balance yourself. You can spend time with your kids when you're at home, and in the field, it's you in the field, so you have to show what you can do in the field and at home.
The girls found out who the best in the world are, and they've taken a lot of confidence out of it, a lot of learning out of it. I believe we've got the talent here and the women to be the top of the world.